And what are somehow the interests of foreign investors to participate to that master plan?
Well, thank you very much for, first of all, for allowing me to be here with you this afternoon. Before talking to you on infrastructure, let me just talk briefly about Cambodia in general. You know, why should you go to invest in a country? I mean, the question is why, and I'm here to tell you the reason. One is the political stability. It's important for the investor to go to the country that has a stable political situation, that one. Two, macroeconomic stability. It's important also because our economies grow at 7% per annum for the last 20 years. The inflation is around 3%. Exchange rate has been extremely stable for 20 years, around 4,000 real local currency to US dollars. And also our economy is dollarized economy. You can go to a restaurant, you can go to a hotel, you pay in US dollars, you pay in local currency. Or is that here local currency, you can convert it to US dollars. So dollarized economy. Our investment law provides you very generous investment incentives. There's no restriction on the ownership of your investment. You can own 100% of your investment in the country because there's no alien business law in Cambodia. All investors are treated equally. The only difference between a foreign investor and a local investor is the ability to buy land. The foreigner does not allow, are not allowed to buy land. But again, if you do a joint venture and the company is 51% owned by Cambodian, that entity can own land. But without the land title or your the ability to buy, you can lease for 70 years for the land. No exchange control. That one's important for investors to know. Absolutely no exchange control. So you can bring the money in, you can take the money out. Now the World Bank report came out. The World Bank said Cambodia has the most liberal investment regime in the region because there's no restriction. You can do anything, 100% banking license, 100% on the telecom sector. Every economic sector is open to investor. And Cambodian government is pro-business. We believe that the private sector is the engine of our economic growth. That's why we'll be able to grow 7% per annum. We also have what we call the government and private sector forum. Every year, our prime minister will organize a government and a private sector forum where we invite around 300 private sector in the room, the whole cabinet of Cambodia sit in the room, diplomatic corps in the room, World Bank, IMF, ADB all in the room, televised, live. The private sector can ask the Prime Minister questions. And Mr. Prime Minister, I cannot resolve this issue. He made the decision right there and then, okay? It's one of the most effective government private sector forum in the world. And this IFC, part of World Bank, helped us organize this event. Around 22 countries that they did. They did a survey, which government private sector forum in these 22 countries that is effective, that can resolve the problem of the private sector. Cambodia came first. So we very pro-business. I can give you my card, you can WhatsApp me, you can do Line, you can Telegram, you can, whatever you want to do. Okay, that's how easy you can access the government of Cambodia. Our location, why Cambodia? We sit right in the middle of the Great Mekong sub-region. So I used to say that Cambodia is a center of gravity for Southeast Asia or the Great Mekong sub-region. So when you invest in Cambodia, you don't look at the 16 million consumer, but you invest in Cambodia to serve 630 million consumers in the Greater Mekong sub-region, which consists of Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, Myanmar, Thailand, and Yunnan province of China. Or the whole, $200 million in Great Mekong sub-region, and 630 for the ASEAN as a whole. So we sit right there in the middle of the country. Young, our population is very young. We talk about average age around 24, around 60% under the age of 24. So the workforce is very dynamic. And the cost is not, I wouldn't say cheapest in the region, but they hard worker, and they very committed to work for the company. So that's how I'm just give a picture of Cambodia. But for infrastructure, today we receive a lot of concessional loan bilaterally from China, from Japan, from Korea, from Vietnam, from Thailand. But at the same time, we also receive the funding from World Bank, from ADB, to build our infrastructure. In addition to that, we also allow private company to invest in the BOT of the expressway, BOT, build, operate, and transfer of the airport. We engage the private sector to run a museum. We call BCT, Business Cooperation and Transfer. We provide, even our traffic controller today, it privatized. So I think we probably one of the first country that privatized the air traffic control in a country. So practically all investment sector is open to all investors. So we urge you to come to the country to see what else you want to do in the country. You can invest in infrastructure, in the railway, in the subway. I'm doing a master plan right now on the subway in Phnom Penh and the monorail in Phnom Penh. We finished our logistic master plan that called for around $45 billion investment for the next 20 years or so. So there's a lot of opportunity in this space, right, for infrastructure. But beside that, there's a lot of opportunity for you to invest. We have the industrial development policy 2015-2025 that will move Cambodia from a labor-intensive industry to a semi-skilled industry. Okay, we want to shift from a garment industry to electrical assembly facility and things like that. That's what we want to do. We are graduating from the low-income country to the middle-income country at a low range. By 2030, we will become a middle-income country at upper range, and 2050 will be high-income country. That is our goal. So the IDP, industrial policy, will lead us there.
Thank you, Excellency. And allow me to bounce back, as you mentioned China, and be a bit disruptive, because your message for YPOs to invest was loud and clear, but as I see investments, infrastructures, the growth in manufacturing, textile, mass tourism arrival in China, do you think that somehow you are deepening your reliance on China? What are your thoughts about this?
Well, our investment law does not discriminate against any investor. So we open. If the Chinese want to invest, they can invest. The European, the American, the Korean, they have a lot of Korean and Japanese now. So we never favor one country or one investor over the other. We are open, small, open economy. So there's no restriction, absolutely no restriction. Now, they keep saying that, oh, Cambodia, you rely so much, you borrow so much from China with the One Belt, One Road. That is that trap for you. It's not good. I can tell you that it's not a debt trap. You must know how to manage your external debt. Our debt to GDP ratio is less than 30%. Please look at around the world. What is debt to GDP ratio for USA, for Japan? Probably 200%. We 30%. So it's not a debt trap. Now, the country been at war, just for 30 years, we just came out of it. We just had peace, the whole country, 1998. So for 20 years, this country moved or built or changed from nothing until today. The life expectancy in 1998, when we finished our war, was 56.7. 2018, the life expectancy was 70.6. 14 years longer that you can live, expect to live. Why? Because of infrastructure. You have money to buy food, better sanitation, healthcare and so on and so forth. Infrastructure, said you bought too much from China. But if you or the country don't give it the money, don't lend us the money, we got to go to someone and lend the money, right? So I used to say that, look, I've been starving. Let's assume that we all been starving for 1 week, no food to eat. Then a Chinese guy walked by, said, here, a bowl of rice. And then you said, Pascal said, don't eat that rice. No, that Chinese rice, no.
I didn't say that.
No, example, okay? But if Pascal said, don't eat that rice, here the Big Mac for you. Okay, alternatives. Or here the baguette, right? Right. With pate inside, okay. But you don't give me alternatives and you tell me not to eat the food, the Chinese food. That is wrong. We've been starving for 30 years to build our infrastructure, to rebuild a country. So we're not limited to Chinese investment. We want you, all of you, to go to the country to invest. We want to diversify. I don't want to put all the egg in one basket.
Clearly understood. So allow me to touch one of your great source of revenues, of course, tourism. You have this amazing UNESCO World Heritage Site. Everybody knows about Angkor Wat and the beauties of Cambodia and the temples and so on. And yet I was blessed to travel to Cambodia in the early 90s, and since then I've probably been 20 times to Cambodia and probably 10 times back to Siem Reap, because it's so magical that you want to go back and back and back. Yet, let me be again bold and honest, the development, the Siem Reap airport, the arrival, you're talking about 4 or 5 million people now landing around. So the whole dynamics and the whole image of thousands of people on Sunset, a queue to arrive on the rooftop of Angkor and so on. How do you manage the arrival of mass tourism, which of course jeopardize luxury tourism and the revenue? I look at the cost to go into the temple. They haven't moved really, although it's a beauty. How would you balance this industry so that you don't somehow potentially burn it for luxury tourism by the profit of mass tourism, which usually, unfortunately, brings low revenue to the country?
Yeah, the entrance ticket to visit Angkor Wat one day is cheaper than go to Walt Disney. A lot cheaper. And you're right, it has not been increased for quite some time. But having said that, we have Angkor Wat. But besides Angkor Wat, we have other things to do, to see. Beautiful beach. Our beach is one of the best beaches in the world. And we belong to the club, the best beach club of the world. Now, in Angkor Wat, we have an organization called Apsara Authority. They manage that and try to eliminate or reduce the congestion at Angkor Wat. There's so many temples, 300 of them around that area, but made for 4 or 5 temples. So we try to move from place to place like that. So they will go at one location at the same time. That to reduce the congestion at Angkor Wat itself. But again, should we increase the price to $100 to limit? Nah, I don't think that at this time we need to do that. We need to attract more tourists, and then we need to send them to different locations, different part of the country. Because that's a good, tourists, to me, it's part of export. I was Minister of Commerce, right? I export rice outside, but now when tourists, 6 million come to Cambodia, I export locally. They eat rice in Cambodia. That's part of export. So I need to attract more rather than export my product outside, the egg, banana and all that. I export locally, sell to the tourists.
And I can resist talking about sustainable tourism to talk about our friend Rory Hunter. He's YPO Hong Kong.
Yes.
He works in Cambodia. He owns Sangsa Island Resort, which is an amazing resort. And now he's developing a large resort around Angkor Wat, creating a whole community of sustainability. So we got some great YPOers on the ground doing amazing work as well in tourism and hospitality, I think.
Absolutely. Rory did a great job. The island that he's designed with his wife called Sangsa Island. It's not cheap, around $2,000 a night. Had around 24 bungalow. That's it, 24 bungalow, around $2,000 a night. It featured in CNN, beautiful, just like Maldives. Now we develop in Siem Reap, around 30 kilometers from Angkor Wat, called dpwt-sr, and a beautiful area. Preserve the environment, the lake, and everything else. So we appreciate very much with what is doing. And I'm, as a friend also, Rory, I'm doing everything I can to help him. Any issues that Rory face in Cambodia, he would come to consult me. I'm trying to do the best I can to help him out.
Thank you, Excellency. Last question before I go to the floor for some questions. Can you talk to us about the role of the greater Mekong sub-region and somehow your integration process?
Greater Mekong sub-region, like I mentioned to you, consists of Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, Thailand, Myanmar, and certain part of China, around 200 plus million consumer. We work extremely well together because with the support of ADB, the Asian Development Bank, they try to do cross-border trade facilitation to ensure that the flow of good and people is seamless moving of all good people for those GMS. So we're doing extremely well. You can cross the border between the country easily. There's no issue there. And also, Cambodia is part of the ASEAN Economic Community. Again, so this is part of part of the growth area that you need to consider. Southeast Asia growing very fast. Growing very fast. Don't miss the boat. Don't miss the boat. And you invest in the Great Mekong sub-region, you can serve all the country around the region. But when I said Great Mekong sub-region, I mean Cambodia. So if you invest, you just come to Cambodia, you serve all those countries. You serve the Greater Mekong sub-region from the base in Cambodia. And my ministry just complete the logistic master plan for Cambodia to ensure that the cost of logistics is competitive to allow goods to move freely between Cambodia and the Greater Mekong sub-region country.
Mr. Gentleman, thank you so much. I just want to open the floor if there's any questions with regards to Cambodia and to the Minister. Anyone?
Yes, sir.
Oh, sorry. Can we get another mic? Or? Yes, that's okay, we got it. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. It was a phenomenally eye-opening talk. You touched a lot on infrastructure because infrastructure is hugely important to Cambodia and it opening up to the emerging and developed world. Infrastructure investors look on an incredibly long time basis, much longer than any other area of private equity or even public equities. You can be looking at 30 to 50-year investments. Even in developed markets, you can have governments coming into infrastructure areas, even roads, tolls, whatever it is, and saying this should now be owned by the people, owned by the government. What is the risk of that happening in Cambodia?
I think the risk is zero. Because our investment law has a clause in there, there shall not be a nationalization. So without that, we will not go to take the project away from the investor. Our 3 airports in Cambodia is operate on the BOT, 30 years. I assigned the BOT of expressway $2 billion between Phnom Penh and the deep seaport, 50 years. Absolutely guaranteed the Cuban government will not do it. If we do that, we lose credibility. And there's no way we can attract more FDI to the country. If you said, look, I assigned one for you now, BOT, after 10 years, wow, you're doing so well, I take it back. That's it. There's no more. You cannot go out, promote investment into the country anymore. So far, we have not done that, and we will not ever do it, okay? Because this is a long project, 50 years project, 30-year concession. We need to provide that accountability, predictability to the investor in order to attract them to invest in the country.
Thank you.
Any final question?
Your Excellency, could you please tell us what's the main stress? You have sea logistics, river logistics, railroad logistics, automotive, so what's the percentage among them? And what's your part, in case you are there, about Chinese Silk Belt? So are you the part, or how are you connected to them?
We part of the Belt and Road, right? Belt and Road Initiative, Because and also we also the founder member of AIIB, the Asia Infrastructure Investment Bank. So that's how we generate the funding to build the infrastructure. But like I said, infrastructure we cannot rely on bilateral, multilateral. We also need the private sector to participate. Today, we can generate the funding at a lower interest rate, right? 1.5, 1.25, 30 years, payback, 10-year grace. But then as we grew, our economy, GDP capita moving up, we start losing that concessional loan. So we need to go to the bond market. So our finance ministry is looking right now to go to the bond market to get a funding to invest in the infrastructure. Yeah, so I hope I answered your question. Is that I'm not quite sure.
The first part was about the percentage in between railroad logistics, then seaport logistics, then automotive fraud. So what's the main sector for us?
Where the good come from, I'm not quite sure the question.
I'm a vice president of the American Investment Fund, so that's why I'm asking about what's the main stress for us for private equity. What kind of the logistics do need more FDIs?
Okay, God, I'm sorry. Well, we need, in addition to road, in addition to port, we need a very simple cold chain storage. We need a simple warehousing because our location sits right in the middle of the Great Mekong Sub-region, right? To our east, Vietnam, 100 million consumer. To our west, Thailand, 17 million consumer. So good flow in through Cambodia. So we need this kind of logistic warehousing center that can serve all the region. And road, we still need to invest a lot of road. Railway is important also. So I love to see the private sector put money in the railway, linking Phnom Penh, the capital city of Phnom Penh, to Ho Chi Minh City. Two city linkage, around 200 plus kilometers, around 220 kilometers. That would be a great investment. And matter of fact, I talked to my counterpart in Vietnam, the Minister of Transport in Vietnam. He all agreed, said let's work together and project this project, one project, railway linkage, the two cities, Phnom Penh and Ho Chi Minh City. But please come to Cambodia, please.
Minister Chantal, thank you so much for stopping by the YPO Hub in Davos today. It's been an honor and a privilege to have you, and I think the message was absolutely loud and clear. We're all excited to go in Cambodia, to use our trusted chapter in Phnom Penh and get to know much more about your country. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thank you. Thank you.